That little splash screen says it all. What is a plugin? Do I need plugins? They all sound very technical, but actually they're not. They're very, very useful. Your basic genealogy program stitches families together, does a bit of mapping, does a bit of sourcing, does a bit of reporting. But outside of that, we need a lot of little utilities. You'll need a different utility from I will, but most of the utilities are common. People wanting to change uppercase surnames to lowercase, people wanting to find duplication. Those are all handled in Family Historian by plugins. If you're a Rootsmagic user, you'll have seen the term SQL. That's actually written SQL. It's a way of accessing a database like Rootsmagic's database and performing things that Rootsmagic can't perform. Tom Holden's a long-time Rootsmagic user, and he's put a website up with a lot of code for SQL users. The problem I have with SQL is that it's not open to all users. I would say probably less than 10% of users can use it because of the technical challenges. Tom did help a lot of people with his scripts, but did he actually hold back Rootsmagic development because of those scripts? I'm not so sure. In Family Historian, they're called plugins. They're written by users, and they're available for use by all users because Family Historian, the program, facilitates the use of these. Coming into this new year and after this video, I'll probably go back to diagrams and cover diagrams in more detail. So if you want to see those, make sure and subscribe down below. Hit the bell, make sure that the bell's coloured black, and then you'll get notifications of future videos. So let's get started. This is the Family Historian sample project that we used before. And you'll remember in the last video, what we done is we deleted 3 Carringtons here. So they're now missing from that project. This is the project you should probably play around with, make your mistakes, do your experiments. The first thing I want you to do is go to File, Project window, highlight the Family Historian sample project, click on More Tasks, right to the bottom, Samples, Reset Sample Project. You get a warning, all open project files must be closed before you can perform the action. Click on Yes, you want to do that. And you get another dialog. And you just OK and OK. Now when we open the project, you can see our Carringtons are all back. If you're playing with a sample project, that's fine. If you have your own project and you're going to run plugins, go back to your project window. This is my final Rootsmagic file. So More Tasks. I want to copy the project. It gives me a choice of file names. Please modify the name. So give it your own name. I'm going to call it Play Database. Click Copy. Copy completed. So now we have a file here that we can play around with without doing any damage. So I'm going to open that up. And here we are in Family Historian. One of the things I was most bothered with when I migrated from Rootsmagic was duplicate facts, duplicate sources, duplicate citations, etc., etc. In fact, when I first started using Family Historian, I was running the plugins in Family Historian and I was going back to Rootsmagic and making the adjustments there in preparation for my final migration. Because there was a lot of bad habits that I had adopted in Rootsmagic out of necessity, and I wanted to clean those up before I moved over to Family Historian. So what about these plugins? Go to Tools. Down the bottom here you have Plugins. That will open up this dialog. At the moment you're a new user, you're not familiar with plugins, and you don't have any plugins. So what do? You go to the plugin store. And here we are in the plugin store. So here you've got various choices. You'll see a list of plugins, but you're going to want specific plugins. So click on plugins to view all plugins, or you can go here. You can select plugins for version 7, plugins for version 6, 5, etc., etc., or all plugins list. On version 7, I have a choice of standard plugins, data entry assistant plugins, or report plugins. I'm going to go for standard plugins. And this is really what you'll see. So let's look at them the way they appear. Add GRO index entries, add GRO. By the way, for my American friends, GRO is General Registry Office. add media URL shortcut, add name suffix to full name. Moving down, ancestry synchronization, back up and restore all settings, change any fact tag. The list goes on, and you've got different pages here. You can keep moving through them. There's over 100 plugins available. I'm going to search for duplicate. And here's plugins pertaining to duplication. Check for possible duplicate media. Find duplicate place names. I'm going to be using this one. This is from Mike Tate. Find duplicate facts plugin. Find duplicate customs IDs plugin. Find duplicate citations. That one's from Jane Todman, I believe. Find duplicate individuals. Check for possible duplicate media plugin. Lumped source splitter plugin. Rearrange address and place parts plugin. I'm only going to demonstrate 3 of these. There's 3 main plugin authors, and I hope I haven't left anybody out. In alphabetical order, that's Mark Draper, Mike Tate, and Jane Todman. So this first one I'm going to look at is by Mike Tate. I found this extremely useful, and Mike has recently updated this for me. So I click on the link. There's an explanation of what the plugin actually does. It tells you the details here, written by Mike Tate. It's on version 1.3, I believe. Been downloaded 620 times. So for me to add that to Family Historian, I simply click the download, find duplicate facts. When we look at our downloads here, we can see that the download is completed. When I open the file, you get a dialog, exercise caution, click OK, and then it tells you it's been successfully installed as a plugin. That was simple. So let's go back to Family Historian. There we are. Find duplicate facts. What I do is I run that, and here, just to explain this very briefly, there's a lot of things that Mike has incorporated here that you can deselect. In other words, exclude from the duplication check. I'm leaving them all as is for this demonstration, and I say find facts. 104 duplicate facts found. I click OK, and here we are. I can close this now. So here, Alexandra, Hannah, and Jeannie Carson. So he's got 2 marriage facts by the looks of things. Let's have a look. Facts, yes, married, married. I can check down here, see what my source details are. I have 1 source in this one. I have 1 source in that one. I just delete either of them. There's nothing different. And that's that one cleaned up. Now, it won't automatically remove from this list, but you can see the original fact is now blank. If I want to run that again, I simply go Tools, Plugins, Run Again, same options, 103 now. And you can see Alexander has gone from the list. These appear on the list alphabetically. This particular plugin doesn't make any changes to your data. You need to make those changes manually. Some plugins do alter your data. That's why I said start with a backup. You might remember from my previous video that there was a problem. You may not have spotted it, and I did not call it out, but it was Margaret Maxwell, and she had duplication. Let me see. Well, she's not here. These are all of the Margarets here. So let me just go to Margaret and show you that duplication. This is Margaret here. If we look at her facts, these 2 facts are exactly the same. So why has the plugin not caught that? So the Family Historian user group is the base for all knowledge. So if you look here, you've got a section on importing. So if you were moving from Legacy, Family Tree Maker, Rootsmagic, you're going to find all of the information in here. Plugin and technical support. So in here, I reached out to Mike Tate as regards the duplicate, not finding that. The reason for not finding that was a Rootsmagic problem. Let me show you this. I compared the 2 notes in a file compare utility. Rootsmagic's notes on one of the entries had trailing spaces after each paragraph. And that was an old problem in Rootsmagic, is that when it went out to JCOM, it left trailing spaces. If you used drag and drop, or you used share merge on Rootsmagic, it perceived those, because of those trailing spaces, it perceived those as two different facts. They weren't absolutely identical. So that was a problem. I reached out to Mike Tate, and you'll see that in the last plugin demonstration in this video. Just before I leave this page, you'll also see down here new wishlist requests. This is where users can put in requests for wishes, but the first thing is, remember, Family Historian is a very powerful program, and the feature you're thinking of is probably already there. You just haven't discovered it. So I'll come back to the problem of Margaret later. Just remember Margaret Maxwell. So the next problem I want to address is one of source duplication. Again, this happened in Rootsmagic. Rootsmagic had some merge utilities. They were left partial. They didn't completely clean up all of the duplication. In other words, duplication started to grow in the file. And I'm going to demonstrate that to you now. This individual here, Anne, is a good example. Not much detail of her here, but let me open her property box. Look at facts. You can see we've quite a few facts here. Some that are shared, with some with media, some with notes. But look at this census. 3 duplicate source citations. Let me look up here, recorded age. Here's 4 duplicate source citations. And you can see as I click through, it's duplication everywhere. Anything that has a source, mostly 4 on all of these. So let's use that as an example. Tools, plugins, and we're going to go to the plugin store again. We're going to look for duplicate again. And if we scroll down a little, find duplicate citations plugin. This is by Jane Taubman, who's been around, family historian probably from the earliest days. Find all facts with more than one citation to the same source and optionally delete the second one. So I'm going to install that. We click on it. Here it is up here. Find duplicate citations. Open it. Same warning box. Now it's in Family Historian. We go to Family Historian and here we are. It's already in our plugins. So we run it and we get an option. Do we just want to list all duplicate citations on facts? Now, if you were using another program and you wanted to just list those and go back and clean them up in your other program, that's the perfect option. So for now, I'm going to run that. It takes a while to run, especially in this project. 47,000 individuals in this project. And with the degree of duplication we just looked at, that's a lot of duplicates. And here's our results. Now, there's one large amount of duplication here. So if I reverse sort on this one, this is not good. There are some facts here which, if I scroll across, the citation has actually been duplicated 7 times. I'm going to run Jane's plugin again, only this time I'm going to let it clean up those citations. Delete all duplicate citations on facts. Don't worry if you see the hourglass and maybe up the top, Family Historian not responding. Family Historian doesn't crash the way Rootsmagic does. Just let it do its thing and get to the end. I'll cut to the end. You might not have noticed, but bottom right hand corner, record results in set 73925. That's 74,000 instances of duplicate citations on facts. And that's it, finished. Now that took quite a long time. I think that was about 7 minutes, and I have quite a fast machine. But don't forget, there was almost 74,000 duplicate citations. So let me close this, go back to our records window. Here's Gracie Ann, who we were looking at before. Open up our properties box, and let's see if there's any difference here. So I think it started on the census. We have 1. This one I think had 4. Now has 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. All that duplication has now been removed. So that's a very useful plugin and a very useful tidy up when I migrated in from Rootsmagic. Source and citation duplication in Rootsmagic was just getting completely out of hand. Now for a little link that goes way back to my Rootsmagic days and maybe 10 or more years ago. I requested Rootsmagic find a way and provided a utility to show what media files were in your media collection on your hard drive of your computer, but not currently linked to your Rootsmagic database. It's a simple compare utility. It never came about. Now this can be done in Family Historian. We have a media filter here for Unlinked Media, which will show us all of the media which is currently unlinked. But I want to demonstrate a plugin that Mark Draper has provided. So again, I go to Tools, Plugins, Plugin Store, and this time I'm going to search for Media. Check for Unlinked Media is the one I want. You also have check for possible duplicate media, etc., etc. This is Mark's if I remember right. This tells you what the utility does. You got a little screenshot here. I'm going to download that one. And now we have a third plugin. Back to Family Historian, check for Unlinked Media. And here we have a description of what it does. I'm just going to run it. And here we have some choices. So I can search the Project Media folder, which is where Family Historian stores its files. I can search the Project Media folder and subfolders, which is the default. A selected folder and subfolders, all linked folders. On the right we have a couple of different output formats. Separate file folder columns is default and full file path. Now if you're using a different program, you might want to copy this out to a spreadsheet, which I will show you at the end of this. But for me, I'm going to select selected folder and subfolders. I click on list files. The way I organize my media files, I have everything in a folder called genealogy, and then after that I have surnames. Eagleson in my case, Surgeoner, names that I follow, like One Name Studies. So in this case I'm just going to keep it simple. I've prepared some stuff, it's not going to be an empty result. I'm going to click on Eagleson Births. I want to know if there's any birth media in that folder that I haven't linked up yet to Family Historian, so that I can work through and complete that. So here we have the results set. We can see they're all in the Eagleson's birth folder, and here's the files that are not linked up. I can Control A there, Control C to copy, go into Excel and Control V. I can walk away with that and work my way down through them and delete each line as I complete, bit like a to-do list, and it makes my media collection complete. And I do that quite often. I do that with cemetery subfolders just to make sure everything's up to date. Some plugins will actually give you the option of saving these off the selected rows off to a named list. You'll have watched my last video, but don't forget these files are not in Family Historian. So how can you add something to a named list which isn't actually in the project? So you need to work through these in Excel or here manually, get them linked up to the right people and make your media collection complete. Maybe that'll come someday in Rootsmagic, as I find it very valuable. So the last plugin we're going to run, back to Tools, Plugins, Plugin Store again. I'm going to put in here Plugin. This is the one I'm looking for. I'm going to install it. You can see it checks all of our plugins against the store to make sure we have the latest versions, because plugins get updated. If you have many plugins installed, it'll take a while to run, quite naturally. So I'm going to install that. Back to your Family Historian again, and I have check install plugins against store, author, Calico Pi. I'm going to run that. It's gone off to the internet now. It's checking those 3 plugins that I have against the store. And it says a newer version of Find Duplicate Facts Found. Would you like to upgrade? Of course I would. Always want the latest and the best. 4 plugins have been checked with the following results. Upgraded is 1, up to date is 3. I'm going to close that. And remember our Margaret Maxwell. This time I'm going to go to Find Duplicate Facts, which is the updated 1.3 version that Mike has kindly supplied. I'm going to run it. I'm going to leave everything at default here. Find facts, 114 duplicate facts found. Here we are. Close this. Shoot down. Margaret Maxwell. Here she is. And if I look at it, these are the two facts that I showed you with the same note, or almost the same note, apart from those trailing spaces. Here it says here, Margaret Maxwell Ancestry, Margaret Maxwell Ancestry. That's the duplicated fact, and that's the one we need to address. So I just delete one of those. Everything's good. So I think that was something like 100 and something duplicates. Let me run it again. Local note. I'm going to uncheck this. So in this case, it's going to run the duplicate facts if the attribute description is the same, if the date is the same, if the place is the same, and the only difference is the note, then it's going to report those. Let's see how many it throws up this time. 702 duplicate facts found. So I'm going to close this and just pop in somewhere to see. Let me just click on this one. So what's the difference here? Difference here is just this note. Now that should be in the source actually, and it is in the source. So I certainly don't need it to be in this note. So this fact and this fact are different just because of this note, but this fact I don't need because it's already in the source note. So I'm going to delete this fact. And that leaves me with this one entry, just in case you weren't following what I was doing there. There's no note, but the reference to the birth is in the source, in the page field. So that's the difference unchecking the note can make. I treat this as a list that I need to walk down through, keep running it from time to time, and generally clean up my file. And I've already done that with my Rootsmagic import some years ago, to great benefit. So one last thing I want to mention. We go to Tools, Plugins, and here's our plugins. We have 4 installed. When I first migrated from Rootsmagic, I was running this quite often. So I'm going Tools, Plugins, Duplicate Facts, Run. If I go more here, another little pane opens up. So I can edit, rename, import, export, delete, which I won't go into here. There's a link out here to a guide to how to write plugins. But what I want to do is add it to my Tools menu. Okay, that's it. Now when I go to Tools, if I go down to the plugins, just above it, find Duplicate Facts. So I can run it from here. One less click at least, maybe 2 less clicks. If I want to remove it from there again, just uncheck that box. And is it gone? Yes, it's gone. So very simple to add a plugin that I'm using quite a lot. I don't even have to run it, but I can add it here for quick reference. So that's really it. Plugins demystified. They're there for everyone to use. Search out whatever you want, whether it's changing names, places, whether it's looking for duplication like I've just demonstrated, whether it's media, looking for duplicate media. Find the plugin that suits you, download it, and start using it now. You'll get the benefits. I would say most users, when I came from Rootsmagic, I was aware that there was duplication in my file. I just wasn't aware how much duplication there was in my file. If you haven't used drag and drop in Rootsmagic, or you haven't used share merge, you maybe don't have any duplications. If you're exchanging with Ancestry, Family Search, etc., I would say you're going to have duplicate facts. Usual drill. Don't be shy about leaving your comments down below. Click the subscribe button. Make sure the bell is black so that you get notifications of future videos. As I say, 2025, I'm thinking more about diagrams. You can see diagrams behind me here, but that's a very simplistic view. You've maybe watched my video about adding custom icons to diagrams. That's very, very useful and very, very powerful. But there's a lot of other things one can do in diagrams. Getting ready for family reunions, etc., etc. Don't forget to check out the videos to my left. And if you look on my channel name, you'll find a full list of videos that you can check out. I hope it's been helpful. And I hope 2025 is a healthy and prosperous year for you all, and you get a lot of research done. Certainly you'll get a lot more research done in Family Historian than I did in my last program. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next one.